Hi, I'm Nikki from Find Me Crafting. With as many electronics as we are all using on a daily basis, there's a lot of cords necessary if we travel or if we're just going to be away for the day and we need to throw it into a bag. That can become a hot, tangled mess. I want to show you how to do a 5-minute or less project that's going to solve that problem for you. It's a cord keeper, and I know there's a lot of these out there. This one is no sew. There is literally no sewing involved to make one of these. And because it requires so little fabric, these are a great stash buster. I've got a free printable template that'll allow you to make the small, the medium, and the jumbo sized. Yep, this one is so big that you can use it to wrap around things like, say, the handle of an iron, and it'll keep that cord in place, tangle and knot free, and out of your way. Plus, they can even work on headphones for holding that charging cord or the plug-in for the actual audio. I'll even walk you through making 2 different styles of the cord keeper. I'll show you how to get the most out of your templates, what fabric works well, and I've got a quick tip at the end for making your edges look just a little more polished and finished off. Come on, I'll show you how. Let's talk about what you're going to need for supplies. You're going to want to print out this free cord keeper template. The link for the download is in the description box down below. And when you print it, make sure that from your settings, you choose to print this at the actual size instead of letting it default to fit to printable area. It's not a big deal if these are a little bit smaller in general, but I wanted them to be exactly this size. So if you want them to be the same size as mine, make sure you select that. And the way to check and make sure that it printed correctly is that this box at the bottom should measure 1 inch by 1 inch. And then of course, you're going to want to cut out these paper templates. You're also going to want to grab a hole punch of some kind and make sure that you punch out the holes on the end that are marked. That's where you're going to be putting your snap, and it makes it much easier if you use your templates with that hole already cut out so that you can just draw your little dot right there through the hole. If you're like me and you want to make a whole bunch of these, you might consider making these into a sturdier template. These are Dollar Tree cutting mats. They're fairly thin plastic. And if you trace your template, your paper template, onto one of these cutting mats and cut it out, now you have a sturdier template. It makes it a little bit easier to trace around because it is obviously thicker than paper. And they're going to hold up to a whole lot more use. Don't forget to punch the hole in your plastic templates as well. This is a crocodile. There is a hole punch on either end, and this thing will cut through most any material. I will have this link in the description box down below. And I also wanted to mention that if you don't have access to, say, a Dollar Tree for the thin cutting mats, you could also use Quilter's template plastic. That's about the same width as this. If you have any of that or you want to purchase any of that, that'll work the same way. Let's talk about the fabric you want to use. I'm using all vinyl fabric. This is a kind of fabric that isn't going to fray or have any issues, even though there is a cut, unfinished edge the whole time. We're not doing any finishing. That's how we get away with it being no sew. But pretty much every type of vinyl I have tried will work. I have used this pattern vinyl. It has sort of a fuzzy, I don't know if that's felt or flannel or what the fabric is on the back. You can use clear vinyl, that works too. This one is a thinner vinyl. I don't know the names of any of them. I just know I thought they were pretty, so that's why I have them. This is a thicker vinyl, more of a marine vinyl, and this works great too. I've even used jelly vinyl, and this is really thick, and it also works fantastically. And of course, you can do any color or fun pattern that you like. You're also going to need all the pieces for 2 snaps. You're going to need 2 caps. Those are the pieces that are flat on one side and have this little pointy bit in the middle on the other. And you need 1 male portion of the snap. That's the one that has the outie belly button on it. And 1 female portion. And that is the one that looks like an innie belly button. I also want to point out you can choose any color or design you like. Cam Snaps, their website has just a whole ton of colors different options for you, or you can just go with plain white. Obviously, this is all up to you, whatever you want to do. And the Cam Snaps does sell a bunch with fun little designs on the other side. So I will have a link for that page as well because they are ridiculously cute and fun. Along those lines, you're also going to need a way to install the snaps. I'm going to be using a Cam Snap table press. And if you're using a table press with me, you would also need the adapter base and the dies for plastic snaps, the male and female portion of dies. Or you can also use a handheld snap press. You're going to need an awl to punch the holes, a pair of fabric scissors, and optionally, you might also want some Sharpies. I'm going to show you how to use these to make the edges of your cord keeper just a little more polished and pretty. You're also going to want some kind of fabric marking tool or pen. I have a chalk pencil or a fabric marking pen. This is what I am advising you to use. If you have a great one that will work for this, fantastic, use it. But I'm going to be honest, that's not what I'm using. What I am using is a fine tip Sharpie. You do have to make sure that you cut this off though, because there's no sewing. We are not going to be capturing our edges in any seams. You would see any of this left behind. But I had a number of pieces of vinyl that were just too dark or too heavy, and the fabric marking tools didn't work so great, and I just used Sharpie. The first step for actually creating the cord keeper is to trace your template onto the back of your vinyl. I do have a plastic template that I've made. I'm on the back of my fabric. I'm gonna line it up and I'm gonna trace it on with, once again, my naughty Sharpie, which you're not supposed to use, but I just find so much more useful than my dried out fabric markers. And don't forget to draw the dots at the top. That's why we punch the holes. You can just easily draw them on. And this is ready to cut out. Grab your fabric scissors. And if you're like me, you're going to be cutting just inside that Sharpie line because it's not going anywhere. So we have to cut it off. Now we want to punch the hole through the fabric. So you grab your awl, just put it in the center of your mark and push through your fabric. Easy peasy. Do that at both ends. Like that. Next up, we're going to be installing the snaps into the cord keeper itself. And there are two different variations. There are two different ways that you can install the snaps. There is one variation like this, where you have the cap portion of the snap on both sides of the pretty fabric. So when you open it up, you can see both caps like this. They will clip together in the middle. This fabric extends out a little bit away from your cords, whatever you're holding it with. It's not as tight in the center area as the second variation is, but you can use sort of these pretty caps, pretty colors on both sides. So those are that's kind of how this one breaks down for advantages. Then there's the second option. This one has a cap on one side of the pretty fabric. And when you open it up, you're going to find this kind of thing on the other side of the pretty fabric. My other cap is on the inside of the fabric itself. So when you put it together, this one is a little bit tighter because it has to overlap. And you just see one of the caps. So this is completely and totally a preference thing. They work the same way, they just look a little different. So you get to decide which way you want to do it. I am going to demonstrate how to install both sets of snaps. Before you do any installing, you need to get your press ready. Because I'm using a table press, I am going to put my adapter into the base like that. I'm going to begin by installing the male portion of the snap. That's the kind that looks like an outie belly button. And because this is the male portion, I need to install it with the female die. They work in opposition or in concert together. So you need a male and a female is how these work. So I'm going to put my female die into my table press. I'm going to start by showing you how to install the snap so that you have the caps, both of them, on the outside pretty side of your fabric. You're going to grab one of your caps, that's the pointy bit, and you're going to insert it from the pretty side through to the center. So you find your hole, and you're going to push that through to the center so that your little pointy bit is sticking out. And we're installing the male side, so I'm going to put the male portion of the snap on top of that little pointy bit. You're going to put the cap down in the bottom onto the adapter base and then squeeze down on the handle. Okay, male side is installed. I'm going to go around to the other one. Same process. You're going to put your cap from the pretty side of your fabric, the right side through to the inside, so that your little pointy bit is sticking out. You're going to put the female portion of the snap onto that pointy bit. We do need to change out our die. And because we are installing a female portion of the snap, we need the male die that has this little ring in the center that's kind of sticking out. I'm going to put that die into the press. Once again, we put the whole thing in with the cap side down and give it a press. And you want to test them out, see if they click. Yep, this one is done. And both sides have the cap showing. Now I'm going to show you how to make this style where only one cap is showing. I'm starting with the male portion of the snap, so I'm going to be using the female die with the open center. Put that into my press. Now for this one, I'm going to pick a side to be the front, and I'm going to put my cap through from the pretty side of the fabric through to the inside less pretty part. I have my little pointy bit sticking out. I'm going to put the male portion of my snap onto that little pointy bit. I'm going to put the whole thing into my press with the flat side cap down and squeeze. That's installed the male portion. I'm going to change out my die. And because I am now installing the female portion, I'm going to be using the male die with the ring in the center. Put that into my press. And right here is where the installation is different, because now I want my cap, and I'm not using a pretty cap for this one because you're not going to see it. I'm going to put that from the unpretty side, the wrong side of my fabric, through to the pretty side. So now the pretty side of my fabric has the little pointy bit. I'm going to put my female snap portion on there, and I'm going to put the whole thing back into the press with the cap down and give it a squeeze. And now we're going to test it out, wrap it around, and it's ready to go. So you can see they do look quite different. They'll work the same way, obviously, but you just have to decide which way you like best. At this point, these are ready to use. They look fantastic. You can be good to go. I like to add one final touch onto my cord keepers. Because this cut edge here is not finished, there is kind of a slight difference of color, right? You're gonna see the sort of whitish gray on the other side. If you grab a Sharpie, and you can use any color, you can match your fabric, or you can make it sort of a coordinating color, whatever you wanna do. Just open it up and run it along the edge of your cord keeper. And it colors those end threads so that they completely blend in. You can see from one side to the other which one I've colored. I think that makes it look just a little more polished, a little nicer, a little more finished, but totally optional. I hope you have fun making a ton of these for yourself. And hey, don't forget to give some away, because everybody has cords they need to organize, right? Happy crafting.